Welcome back, students. We are now down to the part 4 of this subject, the GE 122 Geodetic Surveying. And this part, we are going to discuss the strength of figure. So when we say strength of figure, it is an important factor to consider in the triangulation surveys. And it is a criterion or index of strength of the different figures that may be formed when planning or selecting a placement of station of a triangulation network. So, means to say, ang kaning strength of figure mo ay mo determine sa imuhang best route or ang imuhang pinaka-suitable na triangulation series, no, to come up with the distance of the unknown side. And usually, strength of figure is denoted as big letter R. Technically, R refers to the effect of the proportions of a triangle on the accuracy with respect to the length of the sides that can be computed. And R, or the strength of figure, is not an absolute, and it is merely an expression of the relative strength. And let's recall that there are 4 different routes or the series of triangles that can be used to compute for the length of the unknown side. Now, when we say unknown side, it is the one that we are going to be computed with respect to the baseline. So here are the different routes, no, to compute for the length of the unknown side. For example, ang unknown side ani nga figure is ang DC. So drawing a part, no, line DC. This is the unknown part. So there are different 4 routes, no, 4 different routes nga i-consider to compute the unknown side. So first route is using the triangle ABD. Triangle ABD, which is the first triangle, and the second triangle is the ACD. So ACD. No. So kani nga second triangle. Ang iyahang common side is ang AD. Kita man nato sa figure. The next is the second route, no? Second route is using the triangle ABC. Triangle ABC, and the second triangle is the triangle ACD. ACD. Ang iyahang common side is ang side AC. So third route is using the triangle ABD for the first triangle, ABD. Then the second is ang BCD. So ano siya nga triangle, BCD. So ang iyahang common side is ang side BD. Ano siya. And for the last route, using the triangle ABC, then second triangle is ang BCD. So ang iyang common side is side BC. So please take note that this following routes, no, is not necessary nga kanigid ang order, no. Pwede nimo siya unahon tong kaninga side, no, and or ang imong common side na first is kani si BC, second na pud imo si AC. So depende sa imuhang pagka-cluster sa imuhang solution, no, per route, no. Para ang importante lang is makuha nato ang side, ang goal, which is ang pagkuha sa unknown side nga DC. Alright, so the value of R, no, can be determined for each route. So in every route na, di ba nato yung 4 ka route, so in every route nga atong i-solve is we need to determine also the strength of figure or the R. So there will be a minimum value for the best chain. So sa 4 ka route nga ato ang i-compute, so naapoy 4 ka strength of figure. So sa 4 ka strength of figure na ay minimum value which is the best, no, nga chain of triangles, no. Then next is the second best value, and that a third value, then a fourth value. So ang atong i-consider is ang minimum, no. Kung naatay minimum nga value, so siya ang pinaka the best chain of triangles. So the chain of triangles having the strongest influence, no, the strongest influence in the computing of the most accurate value for the length of a line or a side is that corresponding to the chain of chain which produces minimum, no, minimum value of R. So kasabot di ay ang strongest route or the strongest influence is coming from minimum value of R. So kung kisa to'y gamay nga value sa R, mao to'y gamiton to solve the unknown side, no, or the final route to solve for a known site. So the smaller r means the stronger figure. It is the route which will provide the computed length of the final line with the smallest error. So again, nganong kinahanglan man ta mo compute og strength of figure is to determine nga or to avoid or at least to reduce the error. Kaya di magina malikayan nga na ay error. So in this strength of figure calculation, so the r will determine nga kung kung kinsa to'y pinaka-small of value sa strength of figure, siya pod ang mo-possess of smallest error. So, mao nang siya ang gamiton. And R is concerned with the relative sizes of the angles, which is independent of the precision with which the angles are being measured. Assuming that all angles in a triangulation system are measured with same accuracy, the value of R of one figure as compared to another figure will depend of these following factors. So these are the factors that will affect in computing the strength of figure. First is ang comparative sizes of the distance angles. Second is the number of observed directions. And lastly is the number of trigonometric and geometric conditions that are going to be satisfied. So here is the formula for the strength of figure. So we have R is equals to D minus C over D times the summation of the change of angle A squared plus change of angle A, change of angle B plus change of angle B squared, or F, which is a factor, which is equal to D minus C over D, and times the summation of equation. So where R is the relative strength of figure, D is the number of direction observed forward and back. So, and that is not including ang fixed or ang known side of a given figure. So, ang pasabot niya class is if there is a line, this one, diyang isa ka station, if it is observed from, let's say for example, this is A and this is B. So, from station A to B, gi-observe na siya. Then, so as B to A, gi-observe po siya. So, duha na siya. Counted na siya as 2. And C is the number of geometric conditions to be satisfied in a given figure. And F is a factor of computing the strength of formula, which is equal to D minus C over D. Where change in A and change in B is the tabular difference for 1 seconds. So, kabalo naman mo sa pagkuha ning tabular difference in 1 seconds. Kaya ito na nang i-discuss sa previous part of this lecture. Where ang kaning change of A and change of B is expressed in units of the 6th decimal place. Dapat naka 6 decimal places siya, corresponding with the distance angles A and B of a triangle. Naman tayo i-discuss last time katong si distance angle A and distance angle B. Ang change, tabular difference of 1 second sa distance angle A is kaning gitawag nato nga change in A. And ang tabular difference of 1 seconds for distance angle B of that triangle is also the change in B. Where the summation of change in A squared plus the product of change in A times change in B plus change in B squared is the summation of values for a particular chain of triangle through which the computation is carried from the known side to the unknown side, which is required and to be computed. So for computation of C, which is the number of geometric conditions to be satisfied in the given figure, here is the formula. So it is the n prime minus s prime plus 1 plus n minus 2s plus 3, where n prime is the number of lines observed in both directions, including the fixed or known side in a given figure. So kaganina sa D, it is for the number of directions nga kung tahay natay station A, diri and this is the station B. Tapos natay from station A ato siyang i-observe going to station B, and so as station B going observe to station A. So na ang iyang D ana niya is 2, di ba? Kaganina. So pero sa N prime is 1 na lang siya. Number of lines lang gipangita ang gi-observe in both sides. But again, including the fixed or the known side. Where ang S prime pod is the number of occupied stations and N is the total number of lines in a figure. Total number of lines lang sa N prime is number of lines observed in both directions, while si N is just the total number of lines. And S is the total number of stations. So here are the examples of the figure no nga gisolve ang iyang strength of figure no. First is ang single triangle no, and assumption ani niya is all stations are occupied and all lines are observed in both directions. In this simple illustration, there is a one known line dari ang part which is the line AB, and assumptions that all stations are connected and all lines are being observed in both directions. Therefore, ang iyahang D, which is the number of lines observed in both directions. So since kay wala labot ang known line, so therefore naatay upat no. So A to C, C to A, tapos D to C, then C to B. Na naatay 4. Then N prime is the number of lines observed in both directions. So since i-observe siya ang AC o ang BC, therefore including also the known line. Therefore na ay tulo ka lines. Then si S prime is the number of occupied stations inyo nakita. So tulo ka buok, station A, B, and C. And Cn is the total number of lines in the figure including the known line. So na ay tulo. And Cs is ang total number of stations. So na ay tulo gihapon. So solving this following formula, n prime minus s prime plus 1 plus n minus 2s plus 3. Substitute all the values, you can have this C to be equal to 1. And substituting the value of C for the strength of figure factor, which is F, ang iyang, which is also equal to D minus C over D. So substitute the value for D and C, you can have the value of 3/4 or 0.75. So another figure to be computed with strength of figure factor figure factor is the completed quadrilateral. From the figure, we can say that the D is 10 and N prime is 6, S prime is 4, N is equals to 6, and S is equals to 4. Using the formula to compute C, we have N prime minus S prime plus 1 plus N minus 2S plus 3. Substitute all the values given, we can have the C to be equal to 4. And to get the strength of figure factor, F is equals to D minus C over D. So 10 minus 4 over 10, we can have the value of 0.60. Another one is the triangle with interior stations. So ingana yung forma. And from this figure, we can say that the D is equals to 10, N prime is equals to 6, S prime is equals to 4, N is equals to 6, and S is equals to 4. And using the formula for C to get the value of C and substitute those values that we have get from the figure, we can get the value for C to be 4. Then, using the formula for strength of figure factor F, so D minus C over D, then 10 minus 4 over 10 is equals to 0.60. Another one is a quadrilateral with interior station. So yung yung forma. So from this figure, we can have the value for D is equals to 14, N prime is equals to 8, S prime is equals to 5, N is equals to 8, and S is equals to 5. Then we're going to use the formula to get the C. And substituting these values, kani nga ito nakuha karon, kani siya, i-substitute nato siya to get the value of C. We can have this C to be equals to 5. And for F, so D minus C over D, so that's 14 minus 5 over 14, that is equal to 0.64. Another one is the quadrilateral with interior station and one diagonal. So nga na iyang forma, no, sa iyang figure. And from this figure, we can say that D is equals to 16, N prime is equals to 9, S prime is equals to 5, N is equals to 9, and S is equals to 5. And using this formula to get the C, and substitute these values, no, nato nakuha. So, ano naman siya, plug and play. Then we can have the C to be is equal to be 7. No? And to get the figure factor, instead of figure factor, we can have this formula D minus C over D. Substitute 16 minus 7 over 16. That is equal to 0.56. And another figures, no, to be considered is kaning C ko an pentagon with interior station. And using those formulas na itong discuss kanina, we can have the set of figure factor F is equals to 0.67. Another one is ang hexagon with interior station. Ang iyang strength of figure factor is equals to 0.68. Again, you can practice this in your respective houses, no, kung saan niyo siya pagkuha. I-visualize lang ninyo siya and using the examples na itong i-discuss a while ago. Another one is ang pentagon with interior station and one diagonal. So ang iyang strength of figure factor is 0.60. And lastly is ang hexagon with interior station and one diagonal. So ang iyang strength of figure factor is 0.63. So next is we are going to discuss on the effect of the sizes of distance angles on the strength of figure. So it states here that when small angles are being used, accurate results may not be obtained. The rate of change of the signs of the angles near 0 degrees or 180 degrees is quite large as compared to the rate of change for the angles near 90 degrees. Example number 1. You get the signs of 0 degrees and 1 second. 0 degrees and another sign for 1 second. And get their difference. Also, you're going to get the signs of 90 degrees versus the 90 degrees and 1 seconds. And also get their difference. And you're going to compare them kung kinsay pinakagamay og differences. Patubang si 1 second lang or ang 1 second at near 0 degrees or 1 second at near of 90 degrees. Another example, you're going to get the sign of 0 degrees and also get the sign of 1 degree, no? And also get their difference. And also get the sign of 90 degrees and also get the sign of 91 degrees. And compare them and get their get the difference, no? Of which get the difference between the two. And then you're going to compare sa katong imong gikuha sa example number 2 kung kinsa ang pinaka gamay o differences between them. Implication ani niya. So by the way, kung sa inyong kita diri sa example 1 o example 2, ang rate of change sa signs of angles, especially in the near 0 degrees and 180 degrees, is mas dako, no? Mas dako compared sa change of angles na mas duol sa 90. No? So may implication ani. First is the small angles, no? Small angles only weaken the triangulation system and give the most uncertain results. No? So dapat sa strength of figures, dapat diliin mo siya murag kung naa kay makita nga mga small angles, mas gina ano na siya murag gina murag ayun na pag-solve ayun na siya solve ba it's because uncertain gyapon ng iyang mahatagan na result. And second implication is angles near 90 degrees are the most preferred, no? Preferred values. Mas duol sa 90 degrees, mas prefer siya nga angle to use in the in a triangulation, no? Mas dako or mas gamay na siya strength of figure, kay mas best na siya, no? And angles ranging 30 degrees to 150 degrees are still acceptable in cases 90 degrees, which is mo ang prefer nga value to use, no? Is impossible to obtain. Kung dili gid makaya ang 90 degrees, so ang range na lang 30 degrees to 150 degrees ang pwede pa siya, acceptable pa siya. The effect of sizes of distance angles on R is expressed by the quantity summation of change in A squared plus change in A times change in B plus change in B squared. But how do we determine the values of change of A and change of B? So let us say that A and B represents the two distance angles to be used to compute for the unknown side of a triangle. So diba sa ato ang discuss last time na in every triangle there is a two distance angles, namely A and B. And also let us recall that the different four routes, that there are four different routes to compute for an unknown side. So for different routes to be computed for the length of the unknown side, for example in this figure, with an example for DC, no? DC nga unknown side. Kini nga figure, we can say nga si DC is ang ato ang unknown side. DC or the line DC. Note that in each route, no, there are two pairs of distance angles. Hence, there are two pairs of A's and there are two pairs of B's. Anong duha man ka A sir, tapos napoy duha ka B. For example, no, we are using the first route. No? First route, ABD, no, triangle ABD, and with AD as common side, si AD ito ang common side, and then we are going to use the second triangle which is the ACD, no, kani ACD, no, kani siya nga triangle. So in the first triangle natay duha ka distance angle, no. For first is ang kaning ABD. So sa ABD natay duha ka distance angles, namely opposite sa unknown, no. Kung kaning nga triangle kaning si ABD, so opposite sa unknown is si B. So kaya ato ang unknown man ani nga part is kaning si common side which is ang AD sa kanila nga triangle, kaning si ABD. Then opposite of the known side which is G, no? And for the second triangle, no, we have opposite of the unknown side is CH, and since si AD is na-compute naman nato siya using the first triangle, known side na ni siya sa kaning nga triangle, no, kaning sa triangle ACD. Therefore, ang iyang opposite sa known side is CE. So mao nang naatay duha ka pairs of distance angles. First is ang kaning sa first triangle, ang second is ang second triangle. So also consider the second route, third route, and fourth route. Depende kung unsa ang best na route nga imong gamitan. Alright, for illustration, let us consider the fourth route kaganina sa atong first illustration. Using the triangle ABD, no? ABC pala, ABC. And the triangle BCD. Ano siya nga triangle. So, alright. So, using ano nga triangle, BC ang iyahang common side, no? Common side, CBC. And how do we know which of two distance angles are A and B? No? A and B. So, when we say A nga distance angle, it is the angle which is opposite to the side to be computed. And B is the distance angle na which is ang angle siya nga opposite sa known side, no? A for unknown side, opposite of the unknown side. B is for known side. Now, for triangle ABC, what are the distance angles? ABC. Let this by the way, for ABC pala, ABC, balik ta sa ABC. Ano ABC? Which is the distance which are the distance angles opposite of the known side? Yes, kani si 36. No, 36. And opposite sa unknown, kani si 40. Sa kaninga side, kaninga triangle, no? Triangle ABC. Now let's go to the second triangle which is ang BCD, kani BCD. So unsa naman pud ang iyang distance angles, no? Distance angles opposite of the unknown is 44, and opposite of the known side which is ang kaning si BC naman atong known side karon. So naatay 47. So yan na lang siya. So for continuation, for triangle ABC, kani nga triangle, ang iyahang A1 is for a known side, A1, a known side, BC, si BC karon ang ato ang unknown side sa kani nga triangle. Opposite of the unknown side is 40. So mo na ni karon ang diha sa A1. And B1 is opposite of the known side which is 36. Mo nang 36 ang B1. So next is for triangle BCD. What are the distance angles? First is ang opposite of the unknown side which is 44. Yes, sakto mo. Kung mao ba inyong answer jud. And B2 is the known side. So 47. Anong 47 man, sir? Again, kay diri ang triangle gikuha nato ang value sa BC. So kung since kay common side man siya sa kaning BCD, so ang kaning BC diri karon sa second triangle, known side na siya, Known side na siya. So man ang opposite sa known side is 47. So next thing that we should do is to solve the change in A1, change in B1, change in A2, and change in B2. So B next siya class B. Change in B2. Then next is to solve for this one, kani nga equation. Change in A squared plus change in A times change in B plus change in B squared. So for distance angles A1 and B1. Next is for change in A squared plus change in B squared, change in B plus change in B squared for distance angles A1 and A2 and B2. Alright, so the next things that we should do in computing the strength of figure is solving for change in A1 and change in B1. So since we have these two distance angle, in the first triangle, itong atong gikuha kanina nga si A1 o si B1, natay 40 degrees and 36 degrees. Next is we need to get the tabular difference for 1 second, and the value must be expressed in the units of 6 decimal places. So ano siya, sir? So balik kita itong gibuhat itong last time or last part sa ito ang video na akong i-discuss. So for A1, change in A1 rather is the log sign, kay tabular difference of 1, mao man itong last time nga itong gibuhat. Log sign sa 40 degrees plus 1 second minus log sign of 40 degrees, but you're going to divide this one into 1 times 10 raised to the power of negative 6. Ganong naaman ni siya nga value, sir? It's because we need to express that into 6 decimal places. So pag imo nang input sa calculator, you can have the value of 2.509. So I hope ma-master na ninyo ang kaning pag-input sa log sign. Kaya ako naman po ning gi-detailed o explain sa last na itong part na video. So for change in B1, which is 36 degrees, so we can have log sign of 36 degrees plus 1 seconds, 1 second rather, minus log sign of 36. And again, divide it to 1 times 10 raised to the power of negative 6. So pag imo nang i-equal, you can have this value, 2.898. Then to solve for this, kaning change in A squared plus change in A times change in B plus change in B squared for distance angles A1 and B1. Imo na siyang substitute na naman kay change in A1 o kay change in B1, i-substitute na nimo ni siya nga mga values kaning change in A1 and change in B1, i-substitute na nimo ni nga mga values diri ang equation. You can have kaning 2.509 squared plus 2.509 times 2.898 plus 2.898 squared. So you can have the value of 21.964. So this is for the first nga distance, first pair of distance angles. Alright, so tapos naman ta sa A1 ug sa B1. So next na po itong i-solve is ang second pair of distance angles, which is ang A2 ug ang B2. So we have A2 44 degrees and B2 is 47 degrees rather. No. Next is we need to get the tabular difference for 1 second, and then we are going to express it into 6 decimal places. So for A2, log sine 44 degrees plus 1 second minus log sine 44 degrees, i-divide og 1 times 10 raised to the power of negative 6, ayun nakalimti, kaya i-express yun siya per sa 6 decimal places. Then, i-press din yung answer, then you can have this 2.180. Next is the change in B2. Formula again, log sine 47 degrees plus 1 second minus log sine 47 degrees, i-divide na po og 1 times 10 raised to the power of negative 6. You can have the value of 1.963 rather. No? And next thing that you should do is to get this change in A squared plus change in A times change in B plus change in B squared for the second set of the distance angles, or A2 and B2. No? Substitute the value of A2 and change in A2 and change in B2. No? Diri sa ato ang formula kani. No? So you can have 2.180 squared plus 2.180 times 1.963 plus 1.963 squared. So imo na siyang input into calculator, you can have the value of 12.885. So finally, we can compute the quantity of the summation of change in A squared plus change in A times change in B plus change in B squared. No? So, kung saan mo na siya pagkuha, again, kinaaman siya yung summation nga sign, i-add lang tong value ani niya, kaning equation, for the first distance angle, first pair of distance angle, which is ang A1 o B1, ato na na-compute ganina sa previous slide, og ang kaning ato nakuha ganina sa previous po nga slide for pair of distance angles, which is ang A2 and B2. No? Substitute lang to siya kaning mga values, no? Mamaya ito nakuha ganina sa A1 and B1 nga pair, and kani po siya is for A2 and B2, no? Na pair of distance angles. So ato siyang i-add, we can have this value of 34.849. So this is now the value for this one. Now let us compute for the strength of figure, or R, for the fourth route, no? Sa katotong illustration nga ganina. So assume that all stations are occupied and all lines are observed in both directions. We have these values kaning 34.849, which is ito ang nakuha kaganina, and we have this formula, no? Kaning R is equals to D minus C over D times the summation of A squared, change in A squared rather, plus change in A squared, change in A times change in B plus change in B squared, or equal to F times kaning formula, no? Which is F is equals to D minus C over D. Alright, for computing for R, no? So D, we can say from this figure pala, no? Kanin sa right side, makita nato diri ang figure. We can say that D, which is the number of directions observed forward and backward, but not including the fixed or known side of a given figure, will be equal to 10, or D is equals to 10. And C, to get the value of C, we have this equation, which is n prime minus s prime plus 1 plus n minus 2s plus 3, which is sa itong makita diri sa figure, we can say nga si n prime is 6, s prime is equals to 4, n is equals to 6, and s is equals to 4. And substituting those values, we can have C to be 4. Then let us calculate the value of F, or the strength of figure factor, which is ang iyang equation is D minus C over D, no? To be 10 minus 4 all over divided by 10, which is equal to 0.60. For R, no, to solve na dayon sa iyang strength of figure factor, so naa naman tay f nga 0.60 kanino sa 0.60, and nakakuha na pud ta aning value ganin na sa summation of change in a squared plus change in a times change in b plus change in b squared, so which is 34.849. So i-times na nato na siya sa 0.60, which is ang f. We can have r to be 20.909. No? So mo ni ang iyang strength of figure sa fourth route nga atong gi-consider ganina for illustration. Here are some notes for the strength of figure. So for a quadrilateral, the strength is dependent mainly upon the strength of the best computational route through it. So manya kung ganina nga ang route nga gamiton for computation is nagadepende siya sa strength of figure, no? Katong nga ruta kung gamay siya og strength of figure, kato ang gamiton for computational purposes. The route having the smallest r is to be preferred unless its value proves to be nearly the same for the other routes. And in the first order triangulation surveys, the value of r for any figure should not be exceed 25, no? 25 dapat kung mulapas na og 25 ang mga strength of figure nimo sa katong mga routes, then dili na siya pasok for first order triangulation, no? And the best chain as well as the second best chain. And values should be kept far below these limits for optimum accuracy. And a new base should be measured whenever the strength of figure amounts 80. No? So again, pag mulapas na siya og 25, dili na siya good for first order. No? Kung basta okay lang siya nga naay 25 sa upat ka route, no? Naay 25, pero dapat sa upat ka route is dapat dili siya dapat ang katong naay dapat dili mo exceed og 25 na strength of figure, no? Pag ang upat gani ka routes mo exceed na siya og 25, then that is not best for first order triangulation, no? And in the first order triangulation, kung naa gani strength of figure value or ang katong r nga mo equal siya og 80, no? So therefore dapat na nakay new baseline nga buhaton, or new base should be measured. Baseline dapat na kay another baseline na pod nga gamiton, no, for checking purposes. And this will correspond to a chain of 10 to 25 triangles, no, for 80 nga figure. Pag moabot na siya og 80, tapos ang imuhang chain of triangles is 10 to 25, so dapat na nakay new base. Alright, so I guess this ends our topic, our part 4 for this GE122 topic 2. No, I guess taas-taas naman jud siya, mga around 40 minutes na siya. So, ato na siyang putlon lang sa diri, then proceed na punta for the next video for this topic, which is the part 5. So again class, pasensya kayo pero taas-taas gid ni siya kaayo nga topic, no, ang topic 2. So coverage po ni siya for our midterm exam. So I hope that you will enjoy this video and nakatabang ni sa inyo sa pag-learn about geodetic surveying. So, I wish all the best for you and keep safe everyone and have a good day.